Now we are going to pass it over to CoinFello and let them show us the magic of the golden hand.
I'm so excited.
Awesome. Magic of the golden hand. That's the first time I'm hearing it, but I like it.
I just came up with it. You guys can have it if you want. We won't charge you.
Yes. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and showcase a quick demo of our product here. To get started, all you need to do is navigate to app.coinfello.com. That's going to go ahead and show you how to log in. Now, there are different methods that you're able to log into our product with. So the first of which is to go ahead and sign in with your wallet. Very much like any, apps that are out there, you're able to bring your EOA and go ahead and connect that directly. Alternatively, you're also able to sign in using your email or your phone number, which is going to be using Privy. So it makes the login experience a lot seamless. And then there are some additional benefits of using email or phone number, and that some of your gas will be sponsored by CoinFello as well. So just a little quick tip, insider tip there. But for today's demo, I'm going to go ahead and use my MetaMask wallet. I've got a demo wallet here, so let me go ahead and connect to that. And then once I do, you'll see that I land directly on our homepage. And so before we get into kind of our agent's experience, I wanted to also take a couple of minutes to showcase at a high level some of the non-chat functionalities that exist when you do have an account with CoinFellow. So the first is you have our chat screen where you're able to go through some of the different pills or categories of information. So the first one is the trending pill, which shows you the high-level market pulse, where the market sentiment is. Are we bearish? Are we bullish? Some of the tokens that are trending as well, and then some of the trending topics. If you go into the earn section, this is where our agent starts to actually look at some of the tokens that you have in your wallet that you've connected and showcases you some of the earning opportunities along with the risk levels here. And then here to the right, we've got our meat and bones, the transaction aspect. So again, our agent isn't about just research. It is about execution and automation. And so we really wanted to bring that up forefront on our landing page. So you do have the ability to swap, bridge, and send, but definitely a lot more complex execution capabilities as well, which we'll kind of get into further in the demo. And then next, we've got one of my favorite tabs on our homepage, which is the Learn tab. So we actually start personalizing these quick definitions based on your interaction with it. So these quick definitions have different levels of difficulty and complexity. And so we have our agent understanding of that fact. And as you engage with, say, some of the more complex terminologies, let's say, actually, let's just do an easy one, say like liquid staking, for example. So our agent is now going to respond to you with an answer on what liquid staking actually is in an educational format and put it into layman's terms so that you don't necessarily have to be a DeFi native or even a pro to come in and understand what this is. And so what that actually does is if you come back to the Learn tab, the liquid staking definition is now gone. It's because we now understand that you have awareness of what liquid staking is, and that also actually modifies the personalization layer to where you're now going to be, being showcased some of the terminologies that are at the same level of liquid staking, if not above. And so you're continuing, our agents basically meeting you where you are in your learning journey as well. And then here to the right, we've got the prediction markets. So some of the trending prediction markets that are happening with ones that are ending soon and the ones that are relatively new that just came up. Now, next, we've got our general portfolio view. One of the things that I do want to mention here is that our portfolio view, in my opinion, is actually superior than even a portfolio like balance that someone like MetaMask might provide. So you see here on the right, this is the wallet that I have connected, which shows that I have 1743 worth of tokens in this wallet, but our portfolio is actually showing $40.73. The reason for that is our portfolio view actually is inclusive of some of the active positions that you may have on some of the like LP positions that you might have. So for example, in here, I've got 3 Uniswap V3 LP positions open. And so it's actually bringing in those balances into my total up here. Whereas in MetaMask, you actually have to know to get into the DeFi tab and see that you actually have some tokens or value being held there as well. And then any transactions that happen both in and outside of CoinFellow will make it into the transactions tab here. So I'll come back to this tab as we run some of the different executions via the chat and then show you guys how that comes through as well. Next, we've got our automations. And this is one of the coolest features that we have so far is that you're able to create an automation. But in order for you to create an automation, you first have to deploy a smart wallet account. So what this visual is describing is kind of the relationship between your wallet and the agent's kind of control over the smart account wallet based on the scoped permissions that you're giving it. And it's showcasing that each one of these automations that you might create is actually pulling from the smart account funds, which means you first need to fund the smart account. And so that's why the first action here is to go ahead and fund it. Right now, you're able to either fund it using a connected wallet or from an external wallet, very much like any other funding options out there, but we are very, very close to implementing an on-ramping solution as well. So that'll be much easier. And so for this demo, I actually won't go through the process of creating an automation, but I can show you guys what an automation actually looks like when it is live. And I'll go ahead and do that here using a different wallet. Amazing. So now I've connected a different wallet, and you see that if I go into automations, I've got two running here. One that is running on a weekly basis. So purchasing, I think I'm swapping USD to ETH on a weekly basis, and then some different token to ETH on a daily basis here as well. And so when you click into it, you'll be able to see the automation details along with the automation wallet, which network it's actually executing on, what type of automation it is, what we're buying, and how often. And then most importantly, we've got the permissions down here and the call out that CoinFello can only act within these limits. And you can go ahead and change and revoke this at any time. So these are the two permissions that our agent has when it comes to its control over the funds in your smart account wallet. So this is another important call out here is that it does reduce the attack surface quite a bit in that if our agent were ever to get prompt injected, the only thing that could ever happen in the worst case scenario is that the funds in your smart account wallet would be compromised, whereas your main EOA, the wallet that I have connected here, will never be touched, right? So that is the safety layer that CoinFello has built in by design. Okay, now let me go back to the previous account. And then we've got our earn functionality here as well. So you can kind of think about us as like an aggregator of aggregators when it comes to earning opportunities out there. Here, we're seeing the earning opportunities that I personally have based on my current holdings in the wallet, but you can always go into the all opportunities tab to see the comprehensive view of all the earning opportunities that that are available to you if you were to go ahead and acquire the required tokens. One thing to call out here is that we do have different categories. So if you do toggle on the concentrated liquidity pool and AMM liquidity pool, you'll start to see different opportunities that are much, much higher in terms of the APR. And so right now we have it toggled off, but we are going to be toggling on by default soon. So you guys should be able to see this. But just calling out the fact that right now you do have to actually enable these filters to see them. Now I want to go into our actual agent. So let's go ahead and start a new chat. And I've got some prompts that I have here to the left. So I'm just going to go ahead and start pasting it in. First one here is basically doing research, right? So what is the best route for me to swap my ETH on base for USDC? Again, on base. And I want my agent to look at uniswap speed 2, 3, and 4. So let's go ahead and ask Fello. While this is loading, I also wanted to announce the fact that we officially went live with Fellows 1 today. So up until recently, everyone has been working off of layerzero. So if you guys are users of Claude or ChatGPT, you may understand that they come out with different models. In fact, a couple of days ago is when Fable 5 came out for Claude Code, right? So you can kind of think about our agent in the same way in that this is our legacy model and then Fello 1 is the most up-to-date model. And we call it adaptive because Fello 1 is the first agent that we built that actually unlocks the general contract capabilities. What that means is our agent doesn't necessarily have to be trained on some of these smart contracts or protocols. We actually can almost support them from day one. So this means no user actually has to wait for CoinFello's team to start integrating these one by one. Our agent has that capability out of the box in terms of being able to read the smart contract, understanding the capabilities as well as its constraints. And then also knowing how to interact with that smart contract in a safe manner. So as I was talking, you guys may have noticed the agent's thinking process and the steps that it took, which really helps build the trust with the users in terms of, okay, my agent's not hallucinating right now. These are the steps that I myself would have taken manually, but now I'm literally just watching my agent do it on my behalf. So let's look at the response here. Fello says that Uniswap v3 with the 0.01 fee tier is actually going to be the most favorable route that it can take. So let's go ahead and do that. So awesome. Let's do it.
It's also worth calling out that we don't use any kind of external aggregator for this. It actually talked directly to the Uniswap v3, v4, and v2 routers to find these best routes. So we're kind of avoiding all of the fees that would normally come with using an aggregator service by allowing you to talk directly with the smart contracts, with the agent itself.
Yes, so Zach is actually dropping a really good nugget of information there. It is a hint, hint, and nudge, nudge to go ahead and use CoinFello for these because you are able to avoid some of the aggregator fees as well. Okay, so what our agent did here is, again, to Zach's point, it interacted with Uniswap's router directly. You'll see that here in terms of what it called. So we see that it is V3. And we do also call out the fact that this contract is a verified contract, so improving the trust of the user in the moment they're wanting to execute. So here you can also see the raw call data if you want to see some of the matrix-like numbers in here, but obviously we have that condensed by default. And then let's go ahead and approve and sign, which means that I'm going to have to make that approval in my EOA wallet. Now, for a user who signed up with an email or a phone number, they won't have that confirmation, and it'll be a one-click interaction for them. Okay, perfect. So we see that the transaction has been confirmed. Our agent's also reconfirming that in the chat for me, saying done, the swap succeeded on base, and we've got this transaction hash, or I can go ahead and click on this view button and get to the base scan link right here. You see that I was able to go ahead and make this swap immediately, and I'm able to now go into my portfolio view, go to transactions, and from here also confirm that this transaction was done successfully. Awesome. How about something else? So let's kind of take a step back and think about a real novice coming in and someone saying something like, what are some of the highest yield opportunities for the assets in my wallet? Now, again, you can go to the earn page and look at those, but say that this is a scenario where you want to just chat with the agent about it. So what it's going to do is actually start looking at the wallet assets, what it's actually doing right now, finding these yields, and then comparing those yield opportunities before it presents them to you. So here shortly, we'll be able to get this nice table view of some of the highest yield opportunities. It's calling out the fact that VVV is actually one that seems to be interesting. It shows up in all four of the rows, and the estimated yield is at 324%, so pretty wild. So again, this is kind of showcasing the research capability of our agent. And if I wanted to, I can go ahead and actually deposit into one of these LPs if I wanted to. But before we do that, I know I'm going to be showcasing you guys a similar one. So I'm going to move on to the next example I have, which is executing a swap. So very simple. One of the things that I wanted to show you is if you actually specify exactly where you want the swap to happen, right? So swap this much ETH for USDC using Uniswap v4. Our agent is now going to interact directly with Uniswap rather than trying to route it through a different router that we might be leveraging, right? So some of these power users might have a preference for certain protocols, and so we wanted to build that functionality in as well. So here you'll see that our agent is preparing it. And this is actually one of the latest updates we made. I know with people who are used to using Claude or ChatGPT or any other LLM out there, there are situations where certain responses take up to a minute or two, right? But they do a really good job of keeping you in a place of watching what the agent's doing rather than waiting for the agent to finish. And we wanted to replicate that same experience by really like being transparent and surfacing up these steps that the agent's taking. So yeah, it's currently interacting with with Uniswap v4, and here shortly, what we'll see is a prepared transaction where I can again just go ahead and review and confirm that. All right, it looks like this is taking longer than usual. So if there are any questions, I think this is a good time for you guys to also ask any questions that you might have. But yeah, it looks like it got done. We have the execute call being asked to be reviewed. And then what I'm going to do is approve and sign this one. I am confirming the fact that it is on Uniswap here, though, right? And the network fee, just reconfirming the fact that it is accurate to what we had estimated here. And because it's on Base, obviously it'll be very cheap and fast. So there we go. The swap was successful directly through CoinFello on Uniswap. So again, we're able to see that transaction here. All right, now let's go into a different one, which is something I wanted to showcase. Now, there are a lot of questions around, how do we protect our agent from hallucinating? And I felt like this was maybe the easiest example of like some of the basic safety parameters we have in place, right? So swap one ETH for USDC. I definitely don't have a full ETH in my wallet right now, so I'm curious to see what my agent's going to say. Is it actually going to try to attempt to do the transaction, or is it actually going to tell me that I don't have enough ETH for this swap? So let's see what it comes out with. Awesome. So what it did is it actually did prepare the swap transaction, but it is clearly telling me that I don't have enough ETH to complete the swap. And so again, you're not able to go through with this before you're going to have to, before you do this, you're going to have to acquire the right amount of ETH here. And then I think next, I'm going to get into some of the more exciting parts. And this is the biggest unlock that I was speaking to when it comes to Fello One's capability, which is the LP creation, the management aspects now all being had through our agent in the chat. So the first prompt that I'm going to say is, based on current market conditions, what price range should I set for an ETH USD pairing on a Uniswap? I'll say Uniswap B3 position. Now, this might be a case where I may not actually have a range in mind, but I want to have the agent do some research into the current market conditions and come back to me with a recommended range with the reasoning. And so that's what it's doing right now. It's saying that ETH is around this. It had a sharp 7-day decline of around this percentage. And so it's giving me 3 different strategies on the spectrum of being aggressive to conservative. And it's going to give me a recommendation, and probably it's going to be this. And that's exactly right. My practical recommendation is the 1350 to 1900, gives room for further downside while still staying tight enough to earn meaningful fees. So it's really giving you this educational moment of like what LPing is, how some of these different parameters affect the profits that you might be getting through the fees itself, so on and so forth. And so now it's asking me if you want, I can also help calculate the exact USDC ETH amounts for a specific deposit size. So instead, let's concentrate on liquidity to ETH USDC on B3 in your recommended range with this much ETH. I believe that's like what? Let's add one more zero in there.
I had a quick question.
Yes.
I see there's a lot of coins that you have on here. Does that include all coins? And then is there access to like all coins? Because I know being in certain regions of the world, you might not have access to be able to purchase certain coins. So how do you guys handle that part of everything?
So we actually don't touch any of that part. So it's up to the user in terms of which tokens they have. And where we come in is helping you with the tokens that you hold or helping you acquire the tokens. But from a regulational standpoint, is not where like CoinFello would help you kind of bypass your local regulations, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
If some of the other team members have a different answer, feel free to chime in.
No, I mean, I think that was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, just to speak to, we aggregate basically 20 dexes and around, I think it's like 19 bridges now. So really the agent can support any of the assets on any of those dexes.
Okay. And you guys have a list of the dexes and sexes that you have?
We could definitely publish a list of all of them. We don't have like a published list of them currently, but yeah, it would be very easy for us to send out some documentation on that.
Or maybe have it on like an about page or something like that.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are actually in the process of updating our website, Wayne. So you might see that come about soon. So I appreciate the nudge there.
No, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, it's still working on it. So we'll let it continue thinking. Again, I guess I'm currently used to Claude taking like 40 minutes sometimes on certain tasks. So I'm personally fine with this. But yeah, let's see what it comes out with.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be really great, David, if you want to pull up like a separate tab to even just show the earn page really quick and some of the data on there just to show kind of what we
Sure.
do aggregate and index. And yeah, this is, in real time, everything from Uniswap V3, V4, V2, Aerodrome, Pancake Swap. We're adding new LPs all of the time, and they're all directly aggregated here. We're even going to have an upcoming update that adds even more data and, 3 months plus of historical back testing data that users will be able to back test kind of the performance of these LPs directly with the agent.
So this would be like similar to like a Uniswap's Labs protocol V3 back testing, or a metrics finance, where you can say, hey, what would it look like if I was in this ETHUSDC pool on Aerodrome in this 0.03 fee tier in this range for the past 3 months?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We'll have everything. We're already indexing. It's not all showcased here yet, but we have all of the historic prices with like impermanent loss calculations over time across the tick ranges, the fees, the TVL, the volatility, and then we use all of that to calculate the sigma values for actually doing the APR for the actual back test over time.
Yeah, that's going to be super valuable. And then another thing that I've noticed on the back testing websites is that you can put in multiple strategies and it'll show like a chart, like how it outperformed hodl positions. Like if it had, for example, going back to our ETHUSDC example, I'm just asking what I know people would ask, by the way. I kind of probably already know the answer, but like, for example, it will show like, okay, this is how much you would have had you just hodled. This is how much you would have had if you were in this range, but it also allow you to put in like multiple ranges. So you can say, would it have been better if I would have went maybe a little wider or a little more narrow? You guys think you'll be able to offer to put in different options? I think Uniswap Labs allow you to put in three to test out three different strategies and kind of just see it all on one UI.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So kind of a sneak peek here. Hopefully no one on the team gets mad at me, but um, we're actually in the process of a follow-up update to Fello, which will be a feature complete strategy agent that actually can do all of the native tick range math, pull in all of the historic data, and yeah, you'll be able to even run what's probably some pretty complex simulations and back tests to historically back test against whether the hodl or the tick range in a certain pool is feasible.
That's epic.
Thank you.
The question I have, um, just making sure I understand this correctly. Um, so if I saw USDC up there, so let's say obviously we're not getting any real earnings on our cash in the bank. So let's say I converted my cash in the bank over to USDC, I could deposit it on this platform and then it will find the right, I guess, other platform that would give me the highest yield on that when I own the USD that I'm depositing and then execute it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of even where we're now taking it a step further with the automation system, where in the case of LPs, where you can automatically then take the fees that you're getting in the pool and then auto deposit them back into the pool so that it's actively managing those positions for you.
This is like a secret weapon.
We're trying. We're trying.
Another question I have, I never thought about this one. So like going back to another ETHUSDC example, let's say and I'm maybe kind of mix it with what Wayne said. Let's say I want to put 10,000 into a pool in ETHUSDC, and I only have the USDC. Normally, when you enter into a pool, you have to like, if price is closer to the top of the range, you need more USDC. So like, let's say it's 75% to the top. Will you guys be able to create something to where instead of me having to do the math, because this is what really not only stops people from LPN, because this is like one of those little niches that's really hard for people to understand. And obviously we teach them, but just for like broad people who come across your product, They're like,
Yes.
oh man, I have the USDC. Like, how do I just get into the pool? I have to swap. Like, how do I know how much I need?
Yeah.
I can see two options. Do you think you guys will be able to either one, okay, I'm getting in with 10K, this is my range. It can either recommend how much I need to swap, but even a better option, because with the price changing all the time, what could be the recommended at one time, by the time they go to swap, that could change. It happens to me all the time. Or two, when I want to enter into the pool, does it just make the appropriate swap for me? So it puts in the correct ratio, so I don't have any like leftover. Our coach Chris calls it leftover drippage in my wallet, so I have to keep swapping to keep making deposits in there and paying gas fees.
You're actually, so what you're
Hmm.
asking about is two prompts away in the example prompts that I was going to show. So definitely our agent can help calculate that. So I'll get into it. This one over here, I just wanted to say our agent first decided that it was going to try to do it on mainnet, but I told it to let's go with base. And so what it did is it modified the plan, right? Without me having to repeat all of the information that I already gave it above. And so it already has that context and was able to just make that one modification. And so now I'm able to approve this. And so it's calling that approval. I'm going to go ahead and confirm it, which then gives it the ability to now call this multi-call. And now you see that transaction is confirmed. I have officially created an LP position all directly through CoinFello. And we can go ahead and validate that by going to Uniswap. And you see that the fourth one just came through, meaning that this one has officially been opened and I am currently in range. Again, you can also verify that by going through the base scan link, or you can go ahead and go to the portfolio view like I showed earlier and then go to the transactions. And then that position will start to show up here as well. So I will just call out the fact that sometimes it lags by a minute or a minute and a half or so for the latest one to show, but it does end up showing up in here as well. Cool. Next, let's say I have so what we did so far is we created an LP position. So we all know in this call that I have 4 positions open, but I want to challenge the agent to see whether or not it's able to actually look at my holdings and tell me whether I'm in range or not against those positions. And so I'm saying, check my Uniswap LP positions and tell me whether I'm in range or not. So it's actually going to look at all of my LP positions, check to see if it's in range, and then tell me exactly whether I'm in range. So let's see what it does here. And then while this is working, I'm going to go ahead and set up the next prompt that I wanted to test and show you guys with, which is collect all unclaimed fees from my V3, ETH, and USDC position. So let's see what our agent does with this as soon as it responds with what's above.
Another question I have now. You said that this it can automatically take, I guess, your rewards or your earnings and redeposit it back into the pool. Is it also possible for it to deposit it back into your wallet?
Completely. Yeah. Yeah. So with the next update, with the automations, the agent will be able to do basically anything like that, from recycling the fees back into your address, recycling the fees into another address, putting them back into the pool. Even to answer what you had said earlier about, like time of day gas price and different things like that. We have over 40 tool calls that the agent is able to chain those tool calls together to create a wide variety of complex strategies. And that's actively what we're building out now.
And
Awesome.
another question. I mean, I probably would never do this, but I know some people might. Let's say I did connect this because you can connect different wallets to this. Like you have cold storage wallets you can connect to this, or the address for your crypto from your cold storage onto here.
Yep, yeah, we support I think all the major hardware wallets and stuff through MetaMask currently, but also any of the wallets through any of the Wallet Connect connectors.
Okay. And that being said, let's say I don't know if there's any safety protocols in place. If I have, I'm using XRP, for example, and I have a wallet address that has a large amount in there, but I don't want to use all that. Is there anything that'll prevent it from automatically like dipping into there and pulling anything out without my permission? Or is it anytime it touches your wallet, it's always going to ask for your confirmation?
So that's actually an amazing question, and that hits right at the core of our product and kind of what we do a little bit differently than others. So for the automations, we actually do deploy a smart wallet for you, and we take whatever wallet you have connected, whether it's the injected provider with like a hardware wallet or your mobile wallet through Wallet Connect, and we put that as a signer on the smart account so that you can actually sign off on limited permissions that you're able to redeem through the smart account. So you can do anything from token allowances to, you can only call this smart contract to, I want you to be able to, yeah, spend this much on this day. So it's a fine-grained permission system that actually allows you to only authorize the agent to do exactly what you would want it to do and not touch any funds that you don't want it to touch.
Perfect.
Yeah, just to chime in here too, the like the full automation feature set, like one of the examples that Zach said about like auto claiming your fees and yeah, either like increasing your position or returning it to your wallet. That is slated for Fellow 2. So like that's not currently live right now. The user's in the loop with everything. The automation page you're seeing here is really just for dollar cost averaging right now, and it has the safety guardrails that Zach described. But yeah, with Fellow One, the main innovation is just that you can interact with any smart contract directly, and then yeah, we're going to bring in the actual full automation in Fellow Two. But with Fellow One, you have to approve everything.
Thank you.
Yep. And Wayne, so I did go ahead and deposit a little bit into my smart wallet account here. So again, the agent only has access to what's in here. And these are my scope delegations, right? So here I'm saying, let's go ahead and buy 2 cents worth of ETH on mainnet and use my USDC on mainnet to go ahead and make this purchase. I'm going to go ahead and set the slippage or keep it to the default 0.5 and then say I want this to run on a weekly basis. And let's say the end date is going to be July 31st. So here we have a summary view of what you're actually setting up and the permissions that you're giving it. When I create this automation, you'll see here shortly that we get this confirmation, which is asking for that allowance approval. And then when I do, our automation is now automatically set up. So what this is going to do is, every Thursday, it's going to go ahead and make that purchase for me. If I wanted to, I can decide to run this one now. And so let's do that for the sake of this demo. And you'll see here shortly that this is going to turn into a confirmed state where it is confirming that the automation ran successfully. So it's going to swap that 2 cents worth of USDC for ETH.
And then obviously, I see the pause and delete button. At any point you want, you can just get rid of that automation that you set up. So
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. So I was just being a little impatient. I ran it twice. So you see that it did run twice and it did swap it. So perfect. If I wanted to pause it, I can do that with this one-click interaction. It does put the agent on pause mode and it will now not run the run.
I'm glad I just saw that. You clicked it twice and it did it twice, right? Is there a feature that'll stop that from
Well,
happening just in case like you didn't really mean to click it twice?
exactly. We probably need to put in a loading state of some sort before confirmation happens, so you can't click on that again. So yeah, definitely will improve upon that. Okay, so going back to this narrative here, I asked it to check my Uniswap LP positions, right, and tell me whether I'm in range or not. It did successfully show me the 3 positions that I have open that are in range. And then let's say that I actually want to take out a little bit from one of the positions. So this is going back to your earlier question, Wayne, of like, can I actually withdraw back into my wallet? So I'll say withdraw 50% from this position here. So here shortly, this is 1306220.
Yeah, Vincent, your question about like the swapping and then opening the LP position at the same time. There's actually like here's 2 examples of prompts you can do to do that on Uniswap v3 and v4. V4 has like a built-in zap function, so you can just put in one side of it, and it'll swap it proportionally directly in the V4 contract. V3 doesn't have the Zap contract built in. Some people have built their own custom ones, but you can also do it through a multi-call, which is what will be built if you use that first prompt there, where it'll go ahead and it'll calculate how much needs to be swapped over to the other token, and it'll open up the position in the exact same transaction.
Okay, so here it is. So I told it to withdraw 50% from this particular position. So it is actually standing up the transaction for me. So I'm going to approve and sign. I'm a dummy. I should have actually done this with a position I have on base versus mainnet, but I'll go ahead and swallow that fee here. And so what we'll see is right now, our position is worth $3.14. And so as soon as this gets approved and verified, we'll be able to see that amount get updated in Uniswap as well, just as a confirmation. So we'll wait for this one to go through. It is withdrawing it right now. Perfect. So now it's successful. And so now, theoretically, if we go into Uniswap, you see that amount that got updated immediately here. So really cool moment, being able to kind of interact with a different app directly from ours. Okay, now let's actually do the one that I wanted to do earlier, which is to collect all unclaimed fees from my V3 ETH and USDC position. So let's see if it's able to identify the fact that I have unclaimed fees, which I believe I should if I prep for this call properly. Let me see. I've got some fees earned here and then none in there. Oh, wow. I've earned $1.32 in this one. So yeah, it should be able to find some. Perfect. So it's calling the collect contract. I'm going to approve and sign that guy here. And then it is collecting all currently available fees from all of my positions that have this pair right now. So yeah, again, all through CoinFello, we were able to do that. And then now I'm going to go into the question that you were asking, Vincent, which is, how does our agent help with calculating how much of the other pair you might need if you only have the token for one side of that pair? This might take a little bit, so I'm going to move on to a different tab and then go into a new chat and then put in that prompt. So I want to LP ETH USDC on Uniswap V3. I have 0.002 ETH. How much USDC do I need? Perfect. So it's giving me this breakdown now. So at this current price of 1646, this is what my ETH is worth. It's giving me that calculation and saying that the exact USD needed depends actually on the price range that I want to go after, right? So I'm just going to say, what is your recommended price range? Let's just go with that based on current market conditions. And while this is loading, I'm actually going to show you guys, here it is. This went through, so it was able to go ahead and claim all of my fees from my, fees that were unclaimed previously. But while that one's loading, I'm actually going to show you the same prompt that I did earlier this morning, which is pretty much the same response. And then it says your available liquid balance is very small, so mainnet gas may make this uneconomical. How much ETH and USDC do you want to bridge and LP on Arbitrum? And so I said this amount and then the equivalent USDC amount. And then it's giving me some warnings. Yeah, right here. But the amounts are very small and bridge gas costs are larger than the LP value. Do you want me to go ahead with this plan? So let's see what it's responding here. So it's saying based on the current ETH around this price, I'd use a moderately wide range. And so it's saying its recommendation is this. And so let's see, it's giving me the reasoning.
I did a fun prompt. I did a setup where I just did it right now. I got into a liquidity pool and I'm sending the profits to my son's wallet.
Oh, very cool.
So I told him I start sending him some crypto allowance, and so that was my promise to him. So that's fun.
Son. Does he have an ENS? We do have ENS resolution as well. And so you can just put in his ENS instead of his address if you'd like. Okay, so it's actually warning me that I can't mint it because I don't have sufficient funds. And so as you guys saw, our agent's fully capable of doing this. And so all I need to do is fund my wallet here. Let me see. And then this is one of the more complex ones that I wanted to showcase as well, which is more of the cross-chain capability that we have. So This is a situation where I have a goal in mind, which is that I want to create an LP using ETH and USDC on Arbitrum, but all my funds are on mainnet. And so let's see how our agent would handle a situation like this. Again, kind of speaking to the Claude experience, if you give Claude a bigger task, right? It's going to first present to you a plan that it feels like is a good plan to execute the goal with. And that's exactly what our agent's doing here as well, saying, hey, I checked your wallet, and because your funds are on ETH mainnet and LPs on Arbitrum, this is a multi-step flow. And it's outlining the 3 steps of the plan that it's going to go ahead and follow through with in order to meet your goal. And so here I can say, let's see what the question was. How much do you want to use for Arbitrum LP? All available liquid funds or a specific, let's do 25%. So what it's doing is calculating 25% of my current holdings, checking some of the different bridge routes that exist before it actually simulates it and then presents it back to me. So yeah, this is where the comparison is happening. Perfect. So it's giving me the calculation breakdown of what this 25% actually means. Found some bridge routes here, and then the proposed plan. So this is doable, but economically inefficient due to mainnet cost. Do you want me to go ahead with this plan? I'll just say yes. We did have a situation with one of our users who made a swap, a couple of swaps actually through CoinFello, but Fello at that time wasn't so good about proactively warning them of some of these uneconomical swaps that they might be doing. So we went ahead and added this to avoid that confusion. So here it's running that bridge, which was the first step. So it's actually bridging my ETH on mainnet to WETH on Arbitrum. This one I actually I should have done base, because obviously with mainnet, it does take a while for the bridge to come through. This might take up to 30 seconds or a minute or so, but it is actually doing the work in the background. And then, so yeah, theoretically, once this is done, it's going to continue moving on to the next steps in the plan itself, all the way to the completion of your goal. So yeah, I won't inundate you guys with all of this, but yeah, just wanted to showcase the fact that our agent is now aware of your goal. It's reverse engineering it to understand how to go about meeting that goal in these concrete steps that are being explained to you in layman's terms, and then kind of guiding you and holding your hand throughout that entire journey. That is pretty much the conclusion of the demo that I wanted to show you guys today.